92.7. It is live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Coming up this evening, Ghana escalates maritime boundary dispute with Togo, formally notifying the country of its intention to seek international arbitration. Tonight, we analyze the key issues. Also coming up, Labour Minister urges Clocksack to call off planned strike and pursue negotiations over conditions of service. And later in the bulletin, the United States Supreme Court has struck down President Donald Trump's global tariff in a 6-3 ruling. We'll tell you what this means for the continent of Africa and specifically Ghana after we also got slapped with a 10% tariff increase in the early days of President Donald Trump's return to the White House. We have details of all these stories and more. We always love to hear from you, so do send us your thoughts and messages on the many stories we have for you this evening. This is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Details in a moment. Platforms. We are streaming this bulletin live on our website 3news.com. We are also streaming on Facebook and also on YouTube, so do send your messages in, especially on the big issue regarding the dispute between Ghana and Togo on the maritime boundary, which the country led by President John Dramani Mahama has given clear indications that they are going to seek international arbitration on it. Well, before we delve into the specifics of the stories, here are news summaries brought to us by Nura Mohammed. Hello, Nura.
Hello, Martin. Good evening. This is the news summary on Hot Edition. First in the summaries, President John Dramani Mahama is scheduled to deliver the 2026 State of the Nation address on Friday, February 27 in Parliament. The address is expected to provide a comprehensive overview of the country's current state, evaluating progress made so far and outlining the government's key priorities and major policy directions for the year ahead. The president is anticipated to address critical sectors, including the economy, health, education, agriculture, and infrastructure, while also reflecting on Ghana's international relations and commitments. The address also serves as a constitutional requirement under Article 67 of the 1992 Constitution, which mandates the president to attend Parliament at the beginning of each session and to deliver a message on the state of the nation. Meanwhile, the National Service Authority, NSA, has announced that allowances for November and December 2025 have been successfully disbursed to all eligible national service personnel. In a press statement issued on Friday, February 20, the authority advised service personnel to verify their Ghana Pay accounts to confirm receipt of the payments. The NSA expressed appreciation for the patience and cooperation of all personnel during the processing period. Also, the Upper West region has recorded 5 deaths and 7 confirmed cases out of 34 suspected meningitis cases after week 7 of the meningitis outbreak, a comparison with the same period last year after epidemiological week 7 shows that the region recorded 134 suspected cases and 16 deaths, indicating a reduction in suspected infections this year. However, the case fatality rate has increased to 14% this year compared to 7% during the same period last year. While the overall number of suspected cases has declined, the proportion of deaths relative to cases is higher this year, suggesting greater severity or delays in reporting and treatment. That'll be all for the summaries. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you very much, Nura, for the news summaries. Let's settle for the details now. And Ghana has formally notified the government of Togo of its decision to seek international arbitration to delimit the maritime boundary between the two countries. The decision follows 8 years of bilateral negotiations that have failed to produce a mutually agreed outcome. In a statement issued by the spokesperson to the President and Minister for Government Communications, Felix Kwachi Ofosu, he said that government explained that despite sustained diplomatic engagement since 2016, discussions have not yielded a final agreement. As a result, Ghana is invoking dispute resolution mechanisms under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, commonly known as ITLAWS, to ensure a binding and peaceful resolution. The maritime boundary under dispute lies in the Gulf of Guinea, an area of major strategic and economic importance due to offshore oil and gas exploration activities. A clearly defined boundary is considered critical for safeguarding Ghana's energy interests, maintaining investor confidence, and preventing potential tensions between the two neighboring countries. Government has emphasized that the decision to proceed to arbitration does not undermine the long-standing cordial relations between Ghana and Togo. The move draws parallels with Ghana's previous maritime boundary case with Côte d'Ivoire, which was resolved in 2017 by the Special Chamber of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, ITLAWS. And so in a moment we'll try and get some better understanding of what exactly this means for Ghana going forward. Let's go to the phone lines now and engage the Commissioner General of the Ghana Boundary Commission, Major General Anthony Ntem, who has joined us for a quick chat. Major General, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM. Unfortunately, we seem to have lost the line there. Is Major General, thank you. Are you there with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. Thank you for joining us on 3FM. To start with, what is the background to this maritime dispute and how did we get here?
Yeah, so thank you very much for engaging me. Yeah, I may say for 5 decades, Ghana and Togo respected a common maritime boundary. However, in December 2016, whilst Ghana was conducting, Ghanaian vessels were conducting seismic activities within our territorial waters, which we considered as our area, Togolese Navy intercepted these vessels and prevented them from carrying out this activity. So in May 2018, the then president of Ghana sent a delegation led by the then senior minister, Yao Safo-Mafo, to the Togolese government. The two governments subsequently agreed that they were going to set up a negotiation team to come out with a limited boundary line between the two, maritime boundary between the two countries. The teams held several meetings, as many as 11 meetings. However, it came out inconclusive. That was in 2022. So that is the background of this.
And it's interesting you use the word inconclusive. So what were the issues that kept both parties not agreeing? Is it that Ghana wanted a particular area where Togo also has interest? What exactly are the disagreeing components of the conversation?
You know, throughout the negotiations, I think we came out with an accepted standard maritime boundary line. However, in the case of Togo, they were very inconsistent. On 3 different occasions, they came out with 3 different proposals, which does not conform to any internationally accepted standard.
Okay. So, again, we know that, like you indicated, government says 8 years of bilateral negotiations did not yield any clear agreement going forward. Without disclosing the sensitive details, what were the main sticking points?
We'll say that because of the inconsistencies of the Togolese, they are actually bent on sticking to a particular or trying to take part of our territory, which we think that will not augur well for coexistence in these two different countries. Whereas they intend to expand their anchorage, and then also get some oil blocks within our territory. We think that it means a ceding part of our territory.
Right. So Ghana is heading to the international arbitration, or heading for international arbitration, and certainly I'm sure that the ultimate outcome we are looking forward to is that areas we have demarcated, or areas that clearly are demarcated as Ghana's territory, should be respected and given to us. I'm sure that's the aim of this decision to go to the international arbitration.
Exactly so.
Okay. There are those who are already saying that, considering how close we are with Togo, this could trigger some bilateral disputes between both countries. What do you say to that?
It will not. I don't think it will have any negative impact between the two countries, because we went to, we did the same thing with Cote d'Ivoire, never had a negative impact. So also in this very case, it is just coming out with an amicable solution to this problem. If we have a clearly defined maritime boundary, I think it will prevent future conflicts. Allow our fisher folks to go to sea, and then fishermen to go to sea at peace. Allow investors to come into our country to carry out economic activities, exploration activities, and as well as allow other activities to take place to prevent future conflicts, in short.
Okay, two final questions, then you take leave of us. So, how far is this area in the sea, is this area of contention, from the area where Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire also sought settlement outside?
It is. We are actually talking about the boundary line, the maritime boundary line between the two countries. It's not a particular place; it is a line. That's the boundary line that will demarcate the two countries, Ghana and Togo.
Okay, and these boundary lines clearly are in the sea, just for purposes of understanding.
In the sea.
Okay, I'm sure many would wonder, how are you able to draw lines and find which territory belongs to you in the sea? On land, we can see a clear line, but on the sea,
yes.
How technical is it, if you are to explain it to a layman?
In fact, it is very technical, but what the survey department, and as well as maritime, they know the equipment used, and then how they are able to come out with
those
maritime boundary line, what we call the equidistant line. That will be actually explained by the technical people, the very technical people.
Okay, and finally, is it that we know for certain that we have some hydrocarbons that have been discovered, maybe some oil and gas in these areas in the sea, for which reason we actually want to clearly demarcate and own that part?
Yeah, we know that we have that. At the same time, also for our fishermen to go to sea in peace.
Okay.
Hydrocarbons, yes.
Okay. We are grateful that you could speak to us. We know that you are busily working elsewhere, but you made time to speak with us. We
very far away, so the network is also not too good.
Oh, but we got almost all your submissions very clearly, and we are grateful. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, sir.
And that is Major General Anthony Intem, who is the Commissioner General of the Ghana Boundary Commission. And clearly it looks like, for the layperson, this conversation is at sea, far at sea, but has an implication on the daily lives of the everyday Ghanaian. So let's bring the conversation home now and speak to energy expert and CEO of African Energy Consortium Limited, lawyer Kwame Jantwa. Mr. Jantwa, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening.
How do you explain this to the everyday person? Help us understand the nature of this maritime dispute between Ghana and Togo.
It's the same as the Cote d'Ivoire maritime issue that we were faced, was it when sometime a few years ago?
2017.
But to make it very easy, go onto Google and Google Ghana offshore activity map, both onshore and offshore. You will see the demarcation line. And the line is on the side, the same as the Côte d'Ivoire side. And you would see all the demarcation of the blocks that Ghana has done there. So for me, it's just a replica of the Côte d'Ivoire line. But if it's going to, I don't know whether it's going to court or it's going to arbitration, but if it goes to court, I don't see how different that would be from what we faced with Côte d'Ivoire.
Are you able to tell what must have triggered this claim? If already, like you're saying, if you Google the maritime lines, you can see which part belongs to Ghana, which part belongs to other countries. What may have triggered this?
Hydrocarbon. This is hydrocarbon. That's part of the offshore activity map of Ghana. That part, when you look at it, the continental shelf on that part is very steep as opposed to the continental shelf in the eastern side, that is the Côte d'Ivoire side. And so a lot of Ghana's oil and gas is in that area. So definitely, and when you look at the line, it slants as it comes at the end tip of the Ghana map. It slants into the sea, and that's the maritime line for Ghana's offshore or basin. So it will go to court, and let's see what comes out of it. But I don't see how that is different from the Côte d'Ivoire one. I'm looking at the map right now. It's no different. The angles are the same. And even when you look at our onshore map and you look at the Ghana map, that too has that same imaginary line as to where Ghana's offshore maritime line is. It is quite a shame that Togo have stalled all this while. There was a committee, and then it was decided that the two presidents would meet and discuss it. They met and discussed it, but stalemate. And I'm on the GNPC board. We want to do offshore drilling and all that part. Quite a number of companies are interested to come back because of the kind of oil that is there. When I say the kind of oil that is there, it's sweet crude. And sweet crude is a kind of oil a lot of refineries like because it's easy to refine. And so definitely, Togo would also like to chop a bit of what we have. But I'm sure we could have settled this without going to court. But if that is the way it's going to be settled, so be it.
How much of how significant will this alter Ghana's current energy operations? We know that we're already exploring elsewhere. Again, we went for the same arbitration with Côte d'Ivoire. Fortunately, for us, we won. Have we started those explorations? Is this something that if we go and the court decides in our favor, we are going to see immediate action of exploration taking place, or it will take some time?
The difference between the Togo end and the Côte d'Ivoire end is that on the Togo end, we haven't done any major exploration to production at that end, as compared to the Côte d'Ivoire end where we had all our oil blocks there. I mean, name it, all those companies that are producing Ghana are in that vicinity. So that was crucial. If the Côte d'Ivoire one didn't go in Ghana's favor, then that would have been a very difficult thing for us. But on the Togo side, we haven't started exploration there. The only company that is there is a Swiss company that is doing some work it's quite shallow, near the coast, on and offshore. But that is more inside Ghana. So currently, we haven't started anything there. But there are companies who are interested to coming there. And the thing about that area is that you need the big boys to come in there because the kind of equipment you need, it's only the big boys who have it, like the ExxonMobil, the Chevrons, the Shells, the BPs. They are the only ones who can really work in that area. So it won't really affect us. But we have a lot of hydrocarbons, we have a lot of gas there going into the future. It would help Ghana with the gas, with the electricity, and the oil refining and exporting oil. Now that we have the buzz of adding value and Tor is also working, we can probably get some good oil there to supply the Tor to refine for us. So we're looking into the future rather than the present. So it won't really affect us with regards to the Togo end now. But the Cote d'Ivoire end, if we hadn't won that one, then that would have really affected our bottom line.
Right, and taking off from where you just landed, are there lessons we've picked from the Cote d'Ivoire case that could help our strategies this time around with this Togo situation?
Definitely. You see, the good thing about the Togo one was that we had two attorney generals being part and parcel of the team. So we have the experience. There were other Ghanaian GMPC people too within the team. So we have the experience of handling boundary issues. So that experience will come to bear on the Togo side. But I hope and pray that, it won't go to court. It will probably be an arbitration thing, or the two presidents will pull back and say, no, guys, let us see how we sort this thing out. Because, hey, Togo, they are brothers. They cross border, come and live in Ghana. We cross border, go and live in Togo. So hopefully we can pull it back. But if not, then let the courts decide which is which. But it looks as if, for me, it's the same situation as the Cote d'Ivoire end. The only difference is that the Cote d'Ivoire end, we are actually drilling oil there, and we have companies who are also working in those basins in that area.
Counsel, thank you so much for your expert thoughts on this subject.
Thank you.
And you have a thought.
But to make it easier, for Ghanaians, just Google the activity map, and you'll see everything there.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you had energy expert and CEO of Africa Energy Consortium Limited, lawyer Kwame Jantua. So clearly, it looks as though, from all intents and purposes, this is likely to go in the favor of Ghana, considering the map that I'm also looking at the moment. After having seen and listened to the explanation that the experts have given, Ghana is in pole position to acquire these areas that are far away deep in the sea. But based on the maritime lines I'm looking at, it looks as though the demarcations are clearly within Ghana's territorial waters. So we'll see what the coming days present, especially now that the country has decided to take this issue to the courts. What would the ruling be? Would it still be in our favor, just like it happened in the case against Cote d'Ivoire? We'll keep our fingers crossed and keep you posted as and when we do get any further updates on it. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. Let's turn our attention to labor-related matters now. And the Minister for Labor, Jobs and Employment, Dr. Rashid Pelpuo, has called on the Civil and Local Government Staff Association, CLOGSAC, to withdraw its decision to embark on a nationwide strike and instead meet with government to finalize the implementation of the new salary structure. CLOGSAC, however, has told Labour correspondent Daniel Opoku that any new engagements with the employer can only take place if they are conducted in good faith. The association had announced that it would go on strike on March 9, citing delays in the implementation of its conditions of service and the proposed new salary structure as the reasons for its action. Barely 24 hours after the announcement, Dr. Rashid Pelpuo responded in assuring that government is ready to engage the leadership of CLOGSAC to finalize and implement the new salary structure and conditions of service. He appealed to the association to reconsider and call off their planned strike. And he's been speaking to our Labour correspondent, Daniel Opoku.
And I think government is showing a lot of concern, and we are committed to supporting labor organizations that we know are key to national development. And CLOGSAC is one of them, and CLOGSAC is a body we hope and pray they would maintain their level of commitment to work for the people of Ghana and not frequent strikes. It will help us. But I do respect their leadership and themselves and their individuals, because at every point in time we talk and where we move, they also move. And I want to assure them to withdraw their decision to go on strike on the 9th if nothing has happened. Government is not a one-day affair. It's often a process. And governance, it flips like pages of books when you are flipping through.
Sure.
And that we've gotten to a certain stage when we can do as much as they would wish. And I will urge them to rather open up and talk to us rather than declaring a strike. I'll be meeting labor leaders next week, and I hope to directly speak to their chief executive to make sure we don't come head at each other, because it will not be of help to us. We've been very good together for a considerable while,
Right.
and I want to maintain that cordial relationship. So I will urge CLOSAC and all others who are thinking about throwing away the water with a child that this time is time for us to talk. We have opened up.
And you heard the Minister in charge of Labour, Jobs and Employment, Dr. Rashid Pelpo. However, the Executive Secretary of CLOSAG, Isaac Bampoado, insists that the strike will only be suspended if the government demonstrates goodwill in the ongoing discussions. He also noted that since 2017, CLOSAG has not had approval of its conditions of service.
You know, what has been the worry is the attitude, where we will agree on a meeting, we go and then nobody comes. And it's like our issue is being forgotten. That's why we came out to do that. If by 9th March we don't hear anything from government, there are no option than to give them the language that they understand. But we're ready to engage.
But the minister is pleading for you to withdraw the decision. Is this something you consider?
Well, let's meet first, and based upon what comes up, we'll go back to our council to take that decision.
Because it appears because you put on red, government is scared about the whole thing. The minister is scared. The minister is scared that because you put on red, there's a need, means that you will definitely embark on a strike. He's pleading with you to withdraw the decision.
But the important thing is for us to start engaging. Once we are engaged, we'll take the next decision. The next decision will be taken by our council.
My final question to you: have you received phone calls? So have people been calling you from?
We've had various phone calls. People asking, giving them the reason why we are embarking on this action. But it's, and the issue is that it's long overdue. Since 2019, we've been talking about this since 2019. CLOSAC, as an association, as a union, we don't have a condition of service. Fair wages, you can go ask fair wages. We don't have a condition of service. It's always been talk, since they're coming into being of this single span.
And that is the Executive Director of CLOSAG. You had Isaac Bampo, Executive Secretary of CLOSAG, Isaac Bampoado there. So what would government's next line of action be in resolving these conditions of service for CLOSAG members who have threatened a strike or latest by the 9th of March? We would update you in subsequent bulletins. Away from that, the Gender-Based Violence Circuit Court in Accra has remanded 33-year-old trader Latifa Salifu into police custody for allegedly stealing a newborn baby from the Mamprobi Polyclinic. Her plea was not taken, as the police say the investigation is ongoing. Defense lawyer Dr. Hanusu Mohammed urged the court to grant bail, arguing that the accused has a fixed place of abode, 2 young children aged 7 and 10, and has cooperated with the police. However, the prosecution, led by Chief Inspector Ajay Opoku, opposed the bail application, requesting that the accused remain in custody to assist with investigations. He stated that the offense was not committed by the accused alone, but was carried out by a syndicate. The court agreed with the prosecution, claiming that the bail application and ordered declining the bail application and ordered that the accused be remanded to appear before the court on the 4th of March 2026. Police report that the incident occurred on February 17 at the Mamprobi Polyclinic following the delivery of a baby boy by a patient, Precious Ankoma, 3 days earlier. Investigators say a woman in a peach-colored scrub uniform approached the mother's bed at dawn posing as a nurse. The woman, later identified as the accused, told the mother she was administering medication. In her caution statement, police say that the accused admitted to taking the baby and fleeing with him from the clinic or the polyclinic. So it's a fluid situation, and there have been reactions to it, especially one that we have heard from the Minister of Health, Kwabena Minta-Kando. Now, he has assured the public and victims of the recent baby theft incident of the government's commitment to ensure such acts are nipped in the bud. The minister gave the assurance after visiting the mother and child at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Meanwhile, the victim's family maintain that justice must be delivered to serve as a deterrent to others. The health minister first visited the Mamprobi Polyclinic where the incident occurred to gather first-hand information from the management and staff about the circumstances leading to the incident. He later visited the children's department of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital where the mother and baby are currently on admission.
Our first stop was Mamprobi Polyclinic. They conducted me around. We had closed-door meetings. We retreated directives we had already issued, and as I had already said, it is some of the directives contributed to retrieving the baby back, the CCTV cameras and what have you. What I realized that is not fully being implemented is the name tagging. Because where we are at the moment, you see some of the health professionals are within name tags, and that becomes very difficult for anybody to identify a health professional who is working on him or her. So that was established. There were other directives we reiterated, like I've mentioned the CCTV camera, I've mentioned the name tagging. The name tagging, one aspect is the fact that we have insisted name tagging must be checked at the entrance, at the gate, both the mother and then the baby. So after the meeting, we proceeded to Korle Bu, where the baby was receiving treatment and the mother was there. According to the mother, the suspect came to her wanting to serve her in the name of, being a health professional. And then she said, "Oh, I have just been attended to." I said, "No, then let me take the baby to go and immunize the baby." So she took the baby away, and about 5 or 6 minutes later, another health professional came to ask of the same baby. So that is where she realized that, the baby was nowhere to be found. So they started tracing where that first woman passed, and they realized that the woman had exited. One of the questions I asked her was that, did she see the woman who approached her the first day? She said yes. So the difference between the one who took the baby and the one who brought the baby back, was there any difference? According to her, she said no. According to her, she's the same person who brought the baby back. And I asked whether they can confirm it's the same baby. They said yes, both the mother and the father said it's the same baby.
Well, it's fortunate that at least the baby was found unharmed, and they've been moved from the Mamprobi Polyclinic and are receiving treatment and, post-delivery medical assistance at the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. So that's Kwabena Minta-Kando, the minister in charge of health in Ghana. Meanwhile, the father of the baby, Mohammed Ajiman, says justice must be served.
Oh, the most important thing is the child, and I've gotten it. But just that we are having, this is my first time meeting the minister and what's the name? The gender minister, yes. They have done their parts as they are still supporting. So we are grateful to that.
What's your expectation from here?
We just need to, the law needs to work so that this thing may end, you understand? So because I've been hearing this is not the first time. This is my first time seeing something like that, you understand? So we just need to make the law strong so that it works as we all expect. Yeah.
And that is the father of the baby who was allegedly stolen and later returned to the mother, asking for justice to be served. You're still listening to 3FM. This is Hot Edition. It is live from our studio here at Adisanwe Kanda in Accra. and it's also streaming on our website, 3news.com. We are going on to some other stories we have for you this evening, this time around to the United States of America. The U.S. Supreme Court has struck down former President Donald Trump's sweeping global tariffs. Well, he was a former president and has returned as the current and sitting president of the United States. Now, he has, slapped almost every nation with some global tariffs, delivering a major blow to a key pillar of his economic agenda. In a 6-3 majority decision, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that Donald Trump exceeded his authority when he imposed the tariffs under a law reserved for a national emergency. The court found that the use of emergency powers in the instance went beyond the scope intended by Congress. The ruling applies specifically to the so-called Liberation Day tariff, but does not affect the separate tariffs imposed on particular countries or specific products. The decision marks a rare judicial check on Donald Trump's broad use of executive authority. Throughout his presidency, he strongly defended tariffs as a tool to protect American industries, arguing that taxes on the imported goods would boost domestic manufacturing and reduce reliance on foreign production. However, many business leaders and political opponents have long rejected the argument, warning that higher import taxes could increase costs for American companies and consumers. Financial markets reacted swiftly to the ruling, with Wall Street posting early gains in response to the court's decision. Let's speak to Apiakusi Adomako, who is the West African Director for CATS International, on this latest development. Mr. Kusi, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Hi, good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
When President Donald Trump first imposed these tariffs, there were concerns about potential negative spillover effects on emerging economies, like Ghana and other African countries, and maybe parts of the Middle East and Asia as well. Well, the Supreme Court in the U.S. has struck down these tariffs. Does this mean pressure on Ghanaian businesses have eased? What's your understanding of the decision of the court?
Okay, so first, in legal terms, the decision of the court is a clear testimony that the rule of law works, and that wherever the president goes in excess of the powers conferred on him, there's a check and balance. And this afternoon in the U.S., the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, ruled that the president doesn't have the mandate to do that. That is that. Moving away from that, what is the implication for Ghana? Of course, when the tariffs came, it made Ghanaian import into the U.S. a bit expensive. And now that the tariff has been scrapped, of course, we are yet to wait to see an administrative decision as to when it is taking effect. But in that, once the tariff goes off, what it means is that Ghanaian exports to the U.S. will be cheaper, and we'll be able to export more to the U.S. market. And as a country, we should also be looking at how we can also diversify our export, because putting all your eggs in one basket is not the best thing to do. U.S. can also decide that they are also banning import into your country. Using some WTO rules can also exclude, ban your import into their country. And so we need to be able to find alternative trading partners. China said that they were going to give zero-rated tariffs on import from African countries. Now, other countries are also trying to sign a trade, bilateral or multilateral trade with Africa. And so, but as a country, we should also have a very strong manufacturing sector to be able to produce and also export to other markets, whether U.S., Europe, Asia, or wherever. And again, we also have the AFCFTA, which it has had a slow start, but I'm sure that Rome was not built in a day. So in the long run, AFCFTA will be active, and African countries would also be able to produce and export and trade among ourselves.
Right. We know that President Trump, when he decided to, slap these sweeping tariffs across board, there was an initial one before he started doing country by country. Ghana was among the first group of nations and who had a minimum of 10% tariff increase on them. Is the Supreme Court about the initial 10% tariff across board?
The essence of the Supreme Court ruling is that the president does not have any power to impose tariffs on trade. And the law is that everywhere you go, Parliament is the one, the Congress, they are vested in the powers to impose tariffs. And that the president's reason of using the emergency powers, it doesn't confer on him. And so what is the import of this decision is that goods that are coming into the U.S. will no longer attract that tariff that was there. Perhaps everything will revert back to the earlier, the pre-existing tariffs before the Trump came.
Okay. Now, so how beneficial would this ruling be for Ghana? Would that give us any competitive advantage, specifically on our trade with the U.S.?
Competitive advantage would also borders on how competitive you are at the macro level. How cheaper it is to produce in Ghana, because everybody is selling in the U.S. market. And so if you are producing, for example, a bottle of water at a cost of 5 cedis, and somebody in China is producing bottle of water at 2 cedis, they are all exporting to the U.S. market, that person will be able to sell cheaper than you. And so as a country, we need to work out how we can improve upon our manufacturing so that we'll be able to produce at a lower cost. That is something that as a country we lack. Electricity prices have gone up over the last year at the time that the cedi and the dollar has stabilized, at the time that inflation has been trending down. All of this increase in power tariffs is affecting Ghana's competitiveness to be able to export into other markets. Now, the current situation where the cedi has strengthened against the dollar, it is rather helping boosting our import into the country. But no country developed through importation. Every country that develops, they develop through a very strong industrial base, manufacturing and export. And so we need to be able to confront the principalities of high cost of production so that when our goods get to the other side, they will be cheaper and people will be buying our products. The tariffs may be gone, but it may not solve all the problems affecting Ghana. We need to address the elephant in the room. And I hope that the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Trade, and government will address the business operating environment for private sector that are into business.
Right. And the final question before you take leave of us, you have advised largely that African countries, especially Ghana, diversify our export partners and the countries that we do business with. Which areas would you advise that we start looking at? I know that this current administration is looking more towards the East and the Asian countries. Do we have a good market there? Do we have products and services that will be needed there that we can capitalize on?
Yes, already the name Ghana is a currency. What I mean is that Ghana has got a very strong appeal universally. Everywhere you go, people like Ghanaian goods. People like Ghanaian workers. People like Ghanaian clothes. Everything about Ghana sells outside. And so if we are able to ramp our manufacturing sector and produce quality goods outside, I'm sure that demand of Ghanaian goods will even outstrip our ability to supply. Unfortunately, we have become very much more fixated about the surging prices of gold. And let us know that the solution is not necessarily in exporting, producing gold and exporting them, whether as finished or as raw, your value addition is very, very important. A strong manufacturing sector that creates jobs, that reduces your reliance over reliance on imported goods. That is the long way to go. And once we do this, I'm sure. But coming back to your question again, I think that everybody needs Ghanaian goods. So I think that first we should start from Africa. Our neighbors, it's cheaper to send goods to Cote d'Ivoire. It's cheaper to send goods to Kenya. I mean, Africans must learn how to trade. Of course, I'm not unmindful of the fact that there are some challenges when it comes to intra-African trade, logistics, and other issues. But Rome was not built in a day. Even in the midst of these challenges, we should be able to take advantage of the AFCFTA. The Asians are trading among themselves. The Latin Americans are trading among themselves. North Americans are trading among ourselves. Europeans are trading among themselves. So why can't we also trade among ourselves? I mean, it has some challenges, but as you work out, as you trade, all those challenges will be surmounted.
Very good advice to end this interview on. Thank you very much, Mr. Apia Kusi-Adumaku.
Thank you.
Right, he is the West African Director of CATS International, and like they say, a word to the wise is enough. This clarion call for Africans to trade amongst themselves has been drummed over and over again, and even as recently as the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, it came up strongly where the large advice is to look inward, to start looking inward as a continent and trade amongst ourselves. Wamkele Mene, who is the chief executive of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, was there. He addressed the Accra Reset convening and reiterated the point that it is even absurd that if two African nations are trading among themselves, they have almost always traded with the U.S. currency, whereas we could have a centralized currency that Africans can trade with. So it's a major concern, and it looks as though going forward, this advice must be heeded to the letter so that we can shift the global conversation of always depending on other countries, especially the Americas and the European countries, before we can survive as a continent. So we are likely to read some of your messages that have been coming in. Do keep them coming on our website, 3news.com, also on Facebook and on YouTube. We will be happy to hear and read it to the rest of the world. On to some other stories now. President John Dramani Mahama is expected to present his second State of the Nation address next week, Friday, the 27th of February, to provide crucial progress of his government's handling of affairs in the past year. Already, the minority in Parliament has expressed strong dissatisfaction over what it describes as persistent absence of ministers from the House to respond to questions. But the majority leader says their attempt to bombard ministers with questions would not force government to appoint more ministers. Christian Yali is our parliamentary correspondent and has put this report together.
Every particular meeting of Parliament comes with a peculiar item that becomes the highlight of it. This meeting would be highlighted by the State of the Nation address by the President, which is in accordance with Article 67 of the Constitution. Members of Parliament would have about 2 weeks to debate the substantial issues that would be raised by the President. Detailed security and attendance measures have been put in place.
His Excellency, the President of the Republic, is scheduled to deliver a message on the state of the nation on Friday, 27 February 2026. In line with the convention of the House, honorable members are urged to be punctual and seated in the chamber by 9:15 a.m., as it is inappropriate for members to enter or exit the chamber after His Excellency the President has entered the House to deliver his address. The Speaker, in view of the President's address on Friday, the House will sit at 10 a.m. on Thursday, 26 February 2026, to enable the House adjourn early in preparation for the address.
I want to inquire from the Leader of Government Business whether, as has been done in the past, we are planning to bring in some of the critical parts of our society, like cocoa farmers. You will recall that the last time President Mahama was in power, Amina, the lady who was doing, I think, pork or something, was brought into the gallery.
Just because you think that cocoa politics is what can help your party, I can assure you that the demonstrators, we know who they are. And we know that genuine cocoa farmers know that there is a world crisis. Even if you promised it, you cannot give what you don't have, because what you are proposing is what you did and you collapsed the economy of Ghana.
One other concern has been the backlog of questions. Currently, close to 300 of them that have been programmed for sector ministers to answer. The Minority Chief Whip questioned the availability of sector ministers in the House.
Now we are told that they have to wait to get the availability of the ministers. That is unacceptable. We have to program the ministers. Where the ministers cannot appear, they should write formally to this House. And that is what is giving rise to the situation we have now, where we have close to 300 questions that are lacking behind. We can't answer them. This is the Parliament of Ghana. Our oversight cannot be undermined. We cannot be treating the minister with kid gloves. As and when they wish. When I'm available, I will come. When I'm not available, I will not come. It's worrying.
I can assure you that no matter what you do, President John Dramani Mahama will not increase the number of ministers. If you think by inundating ministers with questions, they will be forced to increase the number of ministers so that we will fail on our political promise. We will not do that. And the ministers have been coming. Don't create the impression that they don't come.
The ensuing week is expected to be a very busy one for legislators, also because they would have approximately 2 days to consider critical government business in anticipation of that crucial presentation of the State of the Nation address.
And that's a report from Parliament by Christian Yali. Time now for the latest in the world of sports. You're listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. Let's find out what's happening in the world of sports in a moment.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Andrew Sefa Bamfo. With about 4 months before the start of the 2026 World Cup, Black Stars goalkeepers trainer Fatau Dauda says he's monitoring some goalkeepers before the competition officially kicks off. Dauda, who represented the Black Stars at the 2014 World Cup, adds that Ghana's upcoming friendly games against Germany, Austria and Mexico will provide a fair assessment of the team's progress.
The department, so far, those guys are doing well in their clubs. They are playing week in, week out, which is very important. I keep in touch with them anytime, and we have some potential guys too who are also doing well. I'm monitoring them. So I think, God willing, we'll have more options because we are going to the World Cup. We have about 4 months. Anything can happen at any time. So when you are monitoring, you need to open the chance so that anytime we can have options. But I think so far so good. Those guys who are in the team before are doing well in their clubs, so that is the most important thing. So I keep in touch with them, and then we share ideas how they can stay sharp. Well, that's 2 high-profile games. They will all qualify for the World Cup, and it's a good test for us as technical team and then as for the players too. So we look forward for that games. That game can give us idea how we should go about our preparation. So it's part of the preparation. So we are waiting for their games.
And so that was Black Stars goalkeepers trainer Fatal Dauda speaking about the goalkeepers and then their preparations ahead of the 2026 World Cup. Let's head to the Ghana Premier League now, where following their defeat against Hearts of Oak, Asante Kotoko interim head coach Prince Owusu says the team is ready to bounce back. The Porcupine Warriors travel to Wenchi to face Young Apostles this weekend, a side who are yet to beat Kotoko in the league after 2 draws and a win for the Kumasi-based side. The game, as I indicated, is scheduled to take place on Sunday.
We all know we are in difficult times, and those guys still, if you pay attention to their results last week, I think they lost. So I know they are going home to redeem themselves back. And we are also going out there to make sure we get those 3 points. So it's not going to be an easy test for us, but I think the boys are ready for it. So we try to go out there and then come out with the 3 points. I could see how we really bounced back quickly after the defeat against House of Folk. On Tuesday and Wednesday, I was just looking at them, their body language and the way they are performing and everything. I saw that, yes, they put it away. And they know that the one ahead of them is very, very important too. So that gives me the hopes that, yeah, these guys are really ready to do the job. And when they are ready,
and so that was Asante Kotoko's interim head coach, Prince Owusu, speaking. Now let's go through the full complement of fixtures for the weekend. Vision FC will be taking on Bechem United. Karela would also be facing 11 Wonders. Adriana would also play as host to Hoho United. Nations FC would also take on Dreams FC on Sunday. Young Apostles would also face Asante Kotoko on Sunday. Heart of Lions are also in action against Bebiani Gold Stars. Samatex will face Mediama. Baseke Holy Stars would also welcome Swedro All Blacks, and then there was also Hearts of Oak who would welcome Brekum Chelsea to the University of Ghana Stadium. This is how the table looks like after 22 round of games. Mediama are leading the pack with 44 points, while Bibiani Gold Stars are second with 39 points. Hearts of Oak are also third, logged on 39 points with Bibiani Gold Stars. Adriana are fourth with 37 points, while Asante Kotoko are fifth with 35 points. Elsewhere in England, Manchester City head coach Pep Guardiola has hailed Semenyo's start to life at the club, while acknowledging that the Ghanaian has the mental fortitude the team requires to be in the title race. Pep also adds that Semenyo's mentality will be key for Manchester City ahead of the Ghanaians' potential Champions League debut in the knockout phase.
Yeah, it's not just, of course, score a lot of goals, and the strikers that people play up front is so important, but not just that. So make a special rhythm, the versatility, as you said, can play in many positions up front, or 3 positions. So we knew it, and come for the in Bournemouth, they are exceptional in the rhythm and defensively. So he has his DNA. So yeah, the impact has been really good. Listen, Antoine, we play against him many times since the last years. When he became a top class or an elite, you have to see. So I don't know, when you buy a player from another club and come here, how we adapt and play in Champions League I never played before, in the biggest stages in Premier League, yes, but in knockout stages in that position is a good test for him, how he react. But I'm pretty sure for his mentality, I think he will handle quite well.
And so that was Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola speaking about Antoine Semenyo. In the English Premier League, Aston Villa will do battle with Leeds United. Brentford would also be in action against Brighton. Chelsea would also battle Burnley, while West Ham take on Bournemouth. Manchester City, as we indicated earlier, would face Newcastle United. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, will play Wolverhampton Wanderers. Nottingham Forest take on Liverpool, while Sunderland face Fulham. The biggest game of the weekend will see Spurs and Arsenal renew their rivalry in the North London derby. And then on Monday, Manchester United will wrap up the fixtures with a game against Everton at Goodison Park. As it stands in the Premier League, Arsenal are still on top after 27 games with 58 points. Manchester City have played 26 games and have 2 games in hand. They have 53 points. Aston Villa are third with 50 points. Manchester United are fourth with 45 points. Bringing an end to Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Andrew Sefa Bamfo. Join us same time next week for more updates.